thanks for coming on, mate. Look, as with every single episode of the Better Blokes Project, we jump straight into the first question. So what is your one piece of advice that would help others be 1% better every day?
Yeah, I thought about it a bit, and it's something we all have, and it's but I'm not sure we all understand how powerful it can be, and it's just smile. It's just start every day with a smile. Like it'll lift your mood, lift your energy, and it improves your well-being in general. And the other real good thing about it, it can make someone else's day.
Definitely, yeah.
It's it's an easy thing to do, but not everyone does it. And as I said, I felt really nervous walking in here today, but I got a big smile from everyone, which got me relaxed and made me feel a little bit excited about the whole thing. So you think about it, our faces are public property, really, and we've got the power to harm someone or help someone or everyone we meet. So
perfect. A great way to start, mate. Thank you. Yeah. Little about you. So we always start with, the 1%er, but now, we want to hear a little bit about your story, mate. Tell us a little bit about your mental health journey.
Yeah, well, I suppose I was quite a few years ago. I went to doctor with a physical complaint, and after a couple of visits, I won't go into the whole story, it'll take me all night, I was diagnosed with anxiety. Probably had it all my life once I spoke to some counsellors and a therapist. I realised that I'd went right through school and right through start of work and everything. And it really changed from then. I found some tools to help myself, and a lot of it was around talking about it. And I suppose, quite a few years ago, it sort of hit home at work again when we had a guy take his life, a really good friend. And it sort of started a journey at work where we started to look at mental health and not just physical health. So yeah, that's sort of where it started, and it's developed from there. And really, we really got a kick and really got some traction after I got involved with Beyond Blue probably 8-9 years ago. And of course yourself, and it's come a long way at work. We got a long, long way to go. But if you stand there and think and look back where we were 10 years ago and where we were 5 years ago, even 12 months ago, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I was very fortunate to work with Greg and the team at Simplot Ulverston, including Anthony Mee, who will be on the podcast at some point later on in this season. I'll rope him in.
That'll be different.
But tell us a little bit about the type of things that you've implemented into Simplot, and then we'll jump into probably some of the stuff around the club. Like we were talking to Stewie in a previous episode, and he was mentioning a little bit about the connection to the footy club. And I know you're a big club man, so we'll get there. But let's just start with Simplot. So tell us, what kind of stuff have you you brought in there?
Yeah, I suppose it's when we had the guy take his life, because he's someone that I work really, really closely with at work. And we never caught up a lot outside of work, but occasionally we did. So it was a loss to me, but it was a really big loss for work. He was one of those guys that he never took life too seriously, and if anyone wanted a hand with something, they'd go and get him. But, I suppose it started then, and we sort of looked into how the hell did this happen, and what could we do. So we introduced an employee assistance program, got the help of some professionals, like doctors and psychologists and whatever, and Simplot paid a retainer to keep them on, and we worked it out that they could, anyone at work or anyone of their family could use the card and ring them and get the first 2 meetings for free. And I suppose way back then, this is before I got hooked up with Beyond Blue, it was really hard to get some traction, and that's around a lot around the stigma that surrounds this damn thing. That, people, a couple of people did use it, but they did not want anyone to know that they were doing this. So I suppose that was the start of it, and we sort of worked on that 2 to 3 years, and we had like the JR Simplot company in the US had brought us out quite a few years before that, and they were big on safety, but not so much health and wellbeing. So I suppose probably 3 or 4 years after that, we changed our safety program year on year and how we could make it better, and we tried to incorporate some health and wellbeing in it. And then not so long, I suppose, when I got hooked up with Lindsay and he asked me to run a Beyond Bluedale, helping do that at the footy club, that sort of resonated back to work, because a lot of people at the footy club work at Simplot, and we've got potato growers that are big sponsors of the footy club. So that resonated back to work. People thought, you take the Beyond Blue stuff and people started, okay, yep, there probably is something in this. And we started to get a little bit of traction with it, and we then changed our program. We give our safety program a name, and we called it the CARE program. And the letters CARE is commit, assess, recognise the issue, and then encourage. And that's what CARE stands for. And we had that for probably 6 months. That's now global for Simplot worldwide in 61 countries. So
wow, it's impressive.
Yep. So, and that came about through, I think it was a young girl in head office in Melbourne come up with, why don't we give our safety program a name? So it was CARE. So that sort of helped again. And then we got a plant manager that was a bit out there, pretty innovative, and he sort of come up with the idea of having a kickstart day. And instead of everyone going back to work on their first shift and do their shift and clean up and get ready, he said he wanted everyone at the Civic Centre for a full day to do some obligatory training and stuff we had to do, and run through the year that was, what was coming up next year, and get everyone involved. And just after lunch that day, he said, we've got a guest speaker, and it was Lindsay. And Lindsay told his story, and that just blew a lot of people away. And Lindsay told us about his story, and you've heard it. And that really got some traction at work. So I told you probably wouldn't have to say nothing if you got me on the right subject.
No, it's good.
But you can butt in any time. And right about then, I suppose Lindsay talked about that, and I think, and I still joke with Lindsay, I think we got 11 people wanted Lindsay's number by the end of that day.
Wow.
And I just thought that was a big lift to not just work but the community. We want to talk about that a little bit later, we will. But from then, we did get some traction, and we actually advertised the EAP program every week. We have I think it's a talking points we call it, and it just goes out to the canteen. One of the girls at work put it together, and every week it's in there. It's just a little thing in the corner of the thing, and that helped. But the other thing that really got it going, and I'm going to say that I'd done this, but it wasn't really me. It just happened by accident. But Lindsay had asked me to go along to some Australian Rotary Health forums and tell them my story. And I said, I don't know. I said, I'd like to tell it to you first, because I don't know how I'll go telling my story, because it's a little bit, for me then it was hard and it was exhausting. But I agreed to do it, and we were out in places like, I think we even went to one in Queenstown, and we were up at Westbury and Longford and Burnie, Cressy, and told our story. And of course I get introduced as working at Simplot for 150 years or however long I've been there. And a lot of potato growers and farmers were at the forums, and they were in these service clubs that were in the town. Well, what does Simplot do? So run a little bit through what we do and our programs. Oh, really? And, people would say, oh, yeah, I've got a contractor comes around and does some work for me. He was actually in there 2 weeks ago on the Are You OK Day. I said, yep, you would have seen me then. And with that I'd get that at a lot of places. So I went back and seen Anthony and I said, you know, what's happening out in the community, what we're doing, the little bit we are doing is out there. So I think we need to tell everyone at work here the work we are doing and the effect it's having on the people in the community. So he said, oh, okay, well, I'll think about it. So he got back to me and said, come to the safety committee meeting and tell them. He said, you got 5 minutes. I said, well, that's going to turn into 10. So I did. And I got asked by the HR manager and she said, you know, what do you want out of this? And I said, well, I don't really want anything out of it for myself. I just want to raise the awareness of what we are doing is good and to tell everyone here at work, and if anyone's got any ideas that we can improve, come forward. So up I got and left, and Anthony came out and he said, no, that's got some talk going. They want you to come to the next one because there'll be different people there. Okay. So I went along and had the same talk and, you know, people started to talk about it. Well, I got nominated for a Managing Director's Award because of the work with care, which I wasn't real happy about because that's, as you understand, that doesn't resonate and go down real well with me, that sort of stuff. But
just on that, I'll interject. So I and Man Up Tasmania nominated Greg and Anthony and Simplot Ulverston for a Tasmanian Life Award and for businesses' service to suicide prevention, and you won.
We did, and that was after this MD Awards, and that really actually that really started work again because we actually, and it was Tuesday this week, I actually got asked on the last minute if I'd do a tour, which I've done 23 this year. They were people from Asia, China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, and a guy from the US, Simplot, and 3 guys from head office. And it was the Asian marketers, and they wanted a tour. Do they speak English? Yep. Well, I met them in the foyer with the plant manager, and all they done was went to the glass cabinet. Apparently that's what they do when they get to a, no, got your name there. And the guy said, this was really good, and people in head office heard about it. I said, yep. I said, and we'll leave, but don't you have that at home? I said, no, and it'll stay there. So that's another thing that I just, it just helped work. The MD Award was, the best thing about that whole thing was when I got nominated, you get to go to the Managing Director's Award. And this was for 2021, and they couldn't have it because of COVID was still hanging around, so they liked the family from the US to come, so they organised to have the big night in March 2022. But you get to go. And I'd been to 2 before, and they are a really good night. But this was just, I could probably get a little bit emotional here, but this was just a really, really special night. We hadn't had one for 2 years. We'd been doing Zoom meetings, and they were excruciating, especially when you're sitting in Tassie with a pretty good life, and you're talking to people that are 23 to 30 that haven't seen their partner for 4 months because they're in Queensland. That night was just, that was really special. And I actually won the award, which was secondary to the whole thing. Because, I'd read through the nominees and I thought, oh, well, the young lady from Echuca will, she'll romp this in. But, oh, no. And I had to get up, and it was first cab off the rank, and oh, God, what am I going to say? So I just sort of went up and just talked like I talk now. And Graham, the managing director, said, you've only got 2.5 minutes. I said, well, I'll apologise now because there's a lot of people that have done a lot of good work with this, and I'm going to mention every one of them and where we are. So I did, and, you get to talk after, but, and I still tell people, the best part of that whole night was probably, it was the first break. I think we'd done a few awards and we had a break And I went to the rest room and messaged my wife and messaged Lindsay, and I came back in and I'd gone to the awards with a couple of guys from Ulverston, and when I got to the big door, I stopped and looked to see if I could find Warwick, and that was the best 20 seconds of the whole night, just standing there looking at people, hugging, smiling, shaking hands and talking face to face.
So just I mean, this is the company's managing director's awards.
Yep.
Yeah, right. It's interesting to listen to all this and draw some parallels back to Martin's talk back in season 1, where he sort of mapped out where, you know, this safety drive happened back in the late 80s, early 90s, and you know, safety wasn't a big thing, and then it was, but it took a lot of effort by a lot of people to get that visibility and get that acceptance of safety as a thing. We're now right at that point now with mental health, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. It's good to see
That's exactly right.
that Simplot especially is recognising that quite visibly, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was not last Friday, the Friday before. Anthony gave me extended an invite to the Lead Well program because we just kicked it off, and they're running 300 leaders through that. Now, it only went for 2.5 hours, but I'd got an invite and I went over with Kerry Atkinson from the footy club and work. He's a relief team leader, and he, you know, what's going to go on here? I said, we'll go in with an open mind and sit down. But that was something else. It's going to be really good. And the lady that ran it told her story, and then went into what we're going to do with the leaders and how being well can make you a whole lot better leader. And I spoke about smile. That changed my career at Simplot many years ago, because I never used to smile all the time.
You've touched on some bloody good points there, Greg, and a big one for us is that seeing the benefits of it. I know when we get together here tonight before you got here, you know, the first thing we talk about is, such and such listened and they said they got something out of it. And that's the kicker for us. It doesn't matter. You know, we could have 100,000 subscribers, doesn't matter. We get one message a week or we get one message a fortnight that says that was pretty handy. And that's, you know, seeing someone benefit from what you're doing is the real winner there. But I do want to touch on the smile a bit. Do you look for something in particular? Do you walk out the door and you go, coffee? Yeah, I'll smile at that. Well, or do you, you know, or do you just try and think of a memory, or is there something particular about it?
The smiles, it's a funny thing. It's very, very powerful. I don't think a lot of us realise how powerful it can be. For me, you know, you've had a bad day at work, and I've learnt to forget about the bad days at work and get home and not take it home. It's taken some doing, but it's nice to get up in the morning, have your shower and clean your teeth, and you look in the mirror, and that's the first time I think about it now. So I just smile and go out the door. But we're all born to smile. That's what it is. But life in general will take it away from you if you let it. And it did to me. And thankfully I got it back really quickly. And it can change. Well, it changed the way I was as a leader. Just, you've got no idea. Well, you probably have. Until you live that, it's,
And it's like you're saying too, that smile, and if we had a producer, we'd probably get them to Google it, but the amount of communication that humans do through their faces and how they express their emotions, and it's not verbal, it's clear to see like how something as easy as a smile can just lift someone's mood just as soon as they see it.
It is, and I've got a little story. I don't know whether we've got time to tell it, but it was probably 18 months, probably a little longer. I go to Brisbane quite a bit because I've got my youngest daughter lives up there, and we travel up probably 4 or 5 times a year, which is really good. There wasn't a lot of smiles when she left, but there's a real lot of smiles now when we get to visit. And I go for a walk every morning, as Aaron probably know. And I walk down to a place called Lake Eden. It's a little lake. It's about 1.3 kilometres round it. and it takes me anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes to get there, depending on my mood and which way I go. And if I'm going to run round it 4 or 5 times, it usually takes me 15 minutes to walk there. But this particular day, and it stands out, you just have to bear with me here, but this is when I really, I got a jolt again about what a smile can do. And I went down there this day and I had no intention of running or anything. I was just in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt and my walkers, and called into my favourite little coffee shops just across the road and got a coffee. And I usually walk back across the road and onto the walking track that goes around the lake and walk up to a little seat. And as I was walking up to the seat, there was a lady coming towards me, and I always smile and say good day to everyone. You don't always get it back, but majority of times you do. And I just walk past. I didn't even think about it. I just smiled. I said, "Good morning, how are you?" "Hello." Kept going. I sat on my seat, and I just sat there and I watched whoever walking around the lake and watched the animals on the lake, and it wasn't too long, and here she comes, finishing a lap. Just give her a wave, and she walked past and she stopped. And she turned around and come back, and I thought, "Oh, okay." She said, "It's a beautiful morning." I said, "It is. It's a beautiful morning." She said, "You come here often?" I said, "No." I said, "I'll be here every morning for the next 7 days," but told her where I was from and we got chatting. And she said what she'd done, and she'd lost her husband during COVID. And, we had a little bit of a chat, and she was all good. And she got on to other things, and she said, the other bad thing he said at the moment, she said, "I haven't seen Mum and Dad for 5 months." I said, "What do you mean you haven't seen them?" She said, "I talk to them every day and take stuff up and leave at the door, but I'm too scared to go in because they're old and they might get sick." I said, "No." I said, "You haven't got COVID?" "No." I said, "Go and see them. Just go in there. They're not going to be here forever." "No." Okay. Anyway, we stood up to go, and she put her arms out to hug me. Oh, she said, "That's the." She said, "That's the longest conversation I've had since May with anyone, and this is September." Like, how do you, how do you get through 5 months of not having a 10-minute conversation with someone? And I just thought then, sure. Well, she left and waved, and she's all happy. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." And I went, "Yep, no, it's fine." I've seen her since, only once. And it was at the lake. She's walking past, and I'd head down and running actually, and "Hello, oh, and it's her." Yep. She went and seen her mum and dad. Took her 3 weeks, and she's still going. And I didn't realise, it's probably after I'd seen her the second time, which was probably 12 months later. I realised then if I hadn't have smiled at her and said something, she'd have probably been still not talking to anyone, right?
Yeah. And it speaks to the connections that you need to have as a human.
Yeah.
Made a big deal. And connections, that's probably a good segue. I mentioned it earlier, Greg. Wanted to have a bit of a yak about the club. We've spoken about it in the past, and I am conscious that we don't have too long.
Yep.
But give us a brief sort of understanding of maybe how you can bring smiling into the club, but also just your thoughts on sporting clubs and how they can be a protective factor for your mental health.
Yeah, they really are important. I'm a bit biased towards footy clubs, but it's generally sporting organisations. They play a big part in the health and well-being of the community. They really do. I spoke at the club, as I said, probably 5 weeks ago now, just to the young guys, and spoke to them about the importance of what they're actually doing, and spoke about all the jobs in a footy club and why people go there. Some want to go and work there, give their time. Some want to help manage it and drive it in a different direction. And you got sponsors, I said. But a lot of people forget about another group of people, and that's the people that pay the money to come in the gate, go to the bar and have a drink and buy stuff at the canteen. I said, and those people, to them, the most important group of people in a football club are you guys. That's why they come. It's not just a matter of pulling a jumper on and so you know who to kick the ball to. It means a hell of a lot more than that, because those people, they form relationships with you, whether you know it or not, or whether you like it or not. It could be the way you kick the ball, the way you've got your hair cut, or you could have just waved to them and said, "G'day," going up the street. But they fall in love with you. And that's the connection you've got with the community. And it's important because people, they need a sense of purpose and well-being in their life. Everyone does. And those people, that's what it is. He's coming to the footy club and having a shout and a cheer and a chat. And it's important what you're doing. You need to realise what it means to pull that jumper on. No matter what club you pay for. And that's it, because it brings joy to people that go there. And you know, someone said to me once, I was out at some sponsors do, and some larrikin up the back, he said, "Why would anyone want to sponsor a football club?" And I said, "Well, every dollar spent at a football club saves 7 in the community." "Oh, how?" I said, "Well, while they're all there playing footy, they're not out wrecking the old phone booths or smashing windows or doing something else." I said, "They're actually at the footy learning life values." So I said, it's pretty easy for me because I've lived around one all my life. And it's like, I spoke to the footy club and I said, you've got to treat everyone that comes in the door the same. Because I told them about my mum. She followed Alverson for 76 years. Every year she went to the football. She had 4 boys to look after, but she started there when she was 14. And she was going to run away from home because she'd had enough. She had 6 brothers and a really hard father. And she lost a mother when she was 5. And he didn't let her go to school. She was a full-time carer at age 12. And she was about to leave. And she said her friend took her to the football, and that was it. That's what it means to some people, a lot of people.
Thanks, mate. That's really powerful stuff. And I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been a really great episode. Thank you very much. Look, for everyone that is listening, please bear in mind there might have been some touchy subjects within this one. So if there is anything that is triggering for you, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or reach out to a mate. It's always important to chat to anyone that you can. And first port of call is always a GP who can point you in the right direction. But for us, we'd love if you could like and subscribe and follow us on YouTube. Get in touch on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you about any future guests that you might have back of your mind. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks, Grace.